Hi there, it's Paul Clevitt, and I'm going to be doing this short presentation about database clustering with Mariadb and Maxscale. So this comes out of us running a huge virtual world called Wolf Territories Grid, and also we do build systems for customers, obviously, and some of them are small, some of them are big, but the big grid that is a virtual world, it has thousands of users, and so we needed a way to have a database. And we had a single node Mariadb when we started about 3 or 4 years ago, but this is what we built up to, and I hope there's some useful things in here that are helpful to people who are running Mariadb. We use Mariadb Galera Cluster with Maxscale to manage it, and this is going to sort of talk through some of the things and gotchas and things that we've learned as we've gone along. Okay, understanding database clustering. So normally, most people, if you've just got a simple website like a WordPress site or something like that, you'd have a single database, Maria database, and you can only really do normal kind of MySQL dump backups of it, and it's surprising how many people are not doing anything. Some hosts do offer snapshot backups, but just check that they are backing up your database, because I've seen that before as well, where they take a backup of a WordPress website but no database backups, and it's actually a complete waste of time. So the idea of a clustered database, which is a Galera cluster, is that instead of having just one database server, we have a number of them. We actually have 5 on for the grid that are all live and all synchronized with each other. And the beauty of that is that it means we can lose 4 of them and the grid will stay online. You can go up to as many as you want. Okay, so it allows us to load balance. It also means it's really quick, because any of those 5 databases could deliver responses to queries rather than just having one database trying to do it all. And you can use different topologies like shared disk, and that also addresses different needs. We run our databases exclusively inside our network. We have 2 networks, in fact. So we've got an external network and an internal network, and the databases are run over an internal network. We use a VPN to get in and work on the database from outside. That's just a bit of protection. MySQL and Mariadb and that are quite regularly hacked. So if it's not available to the outside world, that's a really good thing to do. So Maxscale is another tool, and what that does is it manages connections into the cluster. It's quite easy to set up. It also monitors the node. So if a node goes offline, Maxscale will just route the traffic to the nodes that are online until that node comes back. So for instance, if I was to add another node to our cluster now, or another 2 nodes, because I try and keep it an odd number, what would happen is that Maxscale would see that those 2 nodes are down while they're replicating, and it's creating the new node. So there's some gotchas there. So what we do, one thing, what some people do is they create one. So if you've got like a Proxmox hypervisor or something like that, you create a container or a VM with Maxscale in it, and that one VM talks to all the database nodes. Now the problem with that is it's a single point of failure. So what I do is with our systems is that every it's a bit of a job, but every container or VM has its own Maxscale instance running within it. So that means that as long as that VM or container is up, it's got its own load balancing. It makes it really quick, because we're not going through anything else. The database calls are going to localhost, and then the internal Maxscale is mapping it across to the 5 nodes to say, hey, who's available? So that really, it's more about latency, increases the speed of everything. So here's some tricks. So that's actually what I was just talking about, having Maxscale running on every server. The only problem with it is that if you've got, like we have about 36 containers and VMs running the grid, and it's a bit of a job to update it, because then you have to, unless you use your Ansible or something like that, just to go through all of them and make sure the maxscale.cnf is updated. The other good thing is that, so for instance, within all our servers, so we've got a pile of servers in a Proxmox cluster, and our database nodes are all sitting within that. And so you might have a database node and like a regions node so a database container and a regions container on the same server. So we would then prioritize the local node to the regions server. So in other words, if you've got, let's say you've got 20 hardware servers, and on each one you've got a database node, it's just prioritize that local node to be written to. So Mariadb sometimes, I think certainly in older versions, comes up with SST is set to rsync, and it's horrendous. So what it does is it locks up the donating node for, can be hours if it's a big database, or days. Whereas if you set the SST to Mariadb backup, it's real quick and doesn't lock the server up for a long time. So that means that your database is staying more online. Obviously, by the time you get to 5 nodes, I can add another node today, and it's really not going to affect anything. Another mistake people make is they think, oh, I've got a cluster, so nothing's ever going to go wrong. But we do point-in-time backups as well, and the reason for that is that if something happened to the cluster and it was unrepairable, and it's happened to me before, where we lost, we had some kind of damage to the cluster, and we ended up with like a 2 or 3 node cluster. At least we've got an off-site backup. And that's the use. You can use object storage for that. Just rent some object storage, throw your backups on it, and that's quite a good thing to do. So latency is real important as well. The further away your nodes are from each other, the harder it is for the things to keep up to date. So just keep an eye on that. What we do is we have with where our servers are hosted, there's a number of buildings in the same area, so we're able to have them distributed across that, and again prioritizing the fastest for the writing, so we don't have lots of writes going on to lots of nodes. We try and do a small number of nodes doing writes, because you do a lot less writes than reads, hopefully. Monitor errors and warnings. Don't just ignore what's going on the database servers. Oh yeah, but it's working fine. I mean, ours has been running 2.5, 3 years, so it's generally okay. I definitely prefer having a minimum five node cluster. 3 is good, but 5 is even better, because you've got a lot more scope for adding more nodes and replacing nodes and taking nodes offline, which has to happen every now and then. Okay, so migration strategies. So you can migrate a standard Mariadb database into a cluster. Test it, make sure that it's all working, rehearse failover procedures. So we've done things like restarted servers, restarted the database node, make sure it all works. One thing with it is to make sure you've got enough available connections, because certainly people are using OpenSIM and tools like that uses a lot of connections, and if it runs out of connections, it's a bit of a pain. Execute migration using minimal downtime techniques. So just plan everything, monitor performance, just resolve issues, just make sure you keep an eye on what's going on with it. They can be quite funny things, but the cool thing about them is that once you've got a very stable cluster, you can just, it will pretty much look after itself. A bit about our company. Wolf Software Systems Limited is a UK company. We're a full stack development house. We build anything. We can build you a Kubernetes cluster, we can build you a Proxmox cluster, we can upgrade your apps. We just recently completely rebuilt a whole system for a customer that was 12 years old into a fantastic web app, which is fantastic. We're doing a lot with AI. Charlie is our latest product. If you go to wolf.uk.com, you can see Charlie in action, and he's actually can answer emails and book appointments. Bobby is the AI that's sitting in Wolf Territories Grid, and that's been really useful because people talk to it all the time for the last 2.5 years odd. So we've built quite a comprehensive model of it. We've got quite a comprehensive model that's been spoken to for a long time by humans. We're happy to work with any size business. We've got people on board who've worked with Meta and Google. So, we've got quite a broad range of experience. So, if you're interested, the website's wolf.uk.com. You can send an email to charlie@wolf.uk.com if you want to have a chat with our AI, and he'll book an appointment with us to discuss your project. Thanks very much.